So, I got laid off. I wanted to make this video to talk about the current state of the tech industry, because many of us in tech, myself included, have recently been impacted by mass layoffs. Almost everywhere you look, you're hearing about tech companies letting go thousands of employees, tenured and new hires alike. According to statistics on layoffs.fyi, there have been almost 78,000 people among 241 companies that were impacted by layoffs in 2023 alone. And we're only a month into the year. That's over 320 people per company on average. If we look at the concentration of where those layoffs are, we see that the concentration is heavily skewed towards larger tech companies. And some of the top tech companies like Fang have laid off more than 40,000 people, accounting for almost 65% of the total layoffs that have happened this year. The extent of the layoffs reach beyond tech, as those in the financial world were also affected. Many of the banks, predicting hard economic times and a slowdown in deal making, are also taking drastic downsizing measures. For example, just a few weeks ago, Goldman Sachs laid off as much as 3,200 of its employees across multiple divisions of the bank, accounting for almost 6% of its workforce. Which leads to some of my thoughts on the matter, like, why now? Why all of a sudden? Why are these tech companies laying off all these workers in tandem, seemingly? Now, I suspect it's because back in 2020, when the COVID outbreak started, the quarantine and working from home allowed tech companies to increase the user base of their products. Without much face-to-face interaction, people shifted to using modes of communication that brought them closer within the reach of the products and services made by those tech companies. This in turn made the companies overly ambitious about other projects they could pursue. So they started hiring aggressively, shown by the spike in initial layoffs during Q2 of 2020, and then a relatively low number of layoffs until we get to Q2 of 2022. And that's where companies realized they probably hired too many people, or that some of those ambitious projects weren't working out, and they needed some way to meet their quarterly expected earnings at that point. So it probably started with a small handful of companies laying off their employees, with many others following suit afterwards. As for me personally, this is the first time I've been impacted by a layoff, so navigating through all of this is kind of new to me as I figure out where to go from here. So I want to share my thoughts so far on the matter. Well, on the day I was laid off, I was just at my desk debugging something. I almost found out the root cause of the problem I was trying to fix even. I was then told to come have a meeting, which I was given the news that I was being let go. The meeting itself was quick. I was asked to hand over my badge, pack up my personal belongings, and just head out of the building soon afterwards. Others were being led to the same room, presumably meeting the same fate. Within the hour, I found myself walking out of the building of the company I worked at for almost 2 years for the last time. And that was it. Admittedly, it was a bit frightening and panic-inducing, and my immediate thoughts were concerned about my well-being and basic needs, like, what am I gonna do? How long will my savings last me? How much risk do I have of becoming homeless? All these questions were running rampant through my mind at the time, along with the thought of how long I think it would take me to find another job. Within the next few days, I made a rough mental checklist of things to do, which involved contacting my past employer to get a W-2 form for taxes and maybe the last few pay stubs just for reference. Filing for unemployment, and do this as soon as possible because it usually takes a while for your filing to get approved. Assessing my current expenses and downsizing as needed. This means that some of the things I wouldn't give a second thought about when I had income have now become luxury items to be avoided. And these included going to restaurants and using any food delivery services, which I can replace with buying my own groceries and just cooking at home. making coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks, and discontinuing any subscription services like Netflix. Those recurring payments are just something to watch out for. And putting a hold on any vacations and leisure activities that require non-trivial amounts of money. Additionally, consider making a spreadsheet to track your expenses, like what I've done here. What's been really helping me so far is just making a daily schedule and sticking to it. It's about practicing self-discipline, and that'll really help me to optimize for my time and money, both of which are now greatly limited. In the area of health, among the things that I can do is maintaining a good routine. That means waking up at the same time as when I still had work. That'll give me more time to finish what I need to do throughout the day, like interview prep. Second, try to get regular exercise. That can never be bad, right? And lastly, use that health insurance if you're still covered under your employer. This may vary across different employers, and you should have gotten documents that lay out what the policies are. So that's definitely something to take advantage of if you have it. For my job search, I'll be updating my resume and continuing to work on interview preparation. So that's what my plan is to hopefully get myself back on my feet. If you think I've missed something, feel free to share in the comments. As we're getting to the end of this video, I just have some closing words. If there's anything that these layoffs have done, it's that they've left an imprint on the psyche of thousands of workers. They're revealing to people that the reality of the relationship you have with your employer is a contractual one at the end of the day, where you exchange your time and skills for a price. And last thing worth considering is how this affects the recent trend of quiet quitting on a large scale. The idea being that if you can be a hardworking employee and a great performer just to get let go in a layoff of such magnitude, how much can a workplace realistically expect their employees to remain enthusiastic? It's kind of a morale killer if you ask me, just something I think is worth pondering about. So those are some of my thoughts regarding the recent tech layoffs. I hope this video has been informative or interesting. If you'd like to share anything in response to what I said, share it in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next one.